But here we are, 2026 Orlando for the GCSAA Trade Show and Conference. We are in the Toro booth right now with, it seems like most of the people that are on the trade show floor are here in the Toro booth. They are huge supporters of us. We are so grateful to be a part of everything that they have going on, and we really can't thank them enough.
Favorite part of the show is always the people. You know, getting to reconnect with some people you've met along the way, seeing how their careers are evolving. It's just always great to run into people from literally all over the world. You know, it's the place where everyone comes to gather, and this year it certainly did not disappoint.
Yeah, absolutely. There's people you're ready to see and people you aren't ready to see, which is always so exciting. And just getting involved, you know, I've talked to a few people so far that feel like they haven't done enough or haven't stuck to the plan, and I think that's a big thing, right? You come down here and you have a plan or you want to do something, and it just becomes so busy that you can't do it all. So be proud of what you got done, accomplished this year, and there's always next year. We were talking about that earlier, heading to New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans. It's been a while since the show's been there, so it'll be good to get back to New Orleans and see what's happening down there. And again, just another great opportunity to connect with everyone. So it's going to be fun.
Let's maintain that turf today. Get up and brush off the dew on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Cut it and roll that dew on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Set up, they about to come through on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Get up. Turf today. Get up. Turf today. Let's get out the way. Here comes first play. Let's maintain that turf today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
Adam, what is up, man?
Too much, Tony. How you doing?
You made it home.
Made it home safe and sound. Yeah, took a couple flights. Lost my bag in Toronto, but they were able to deliver it around 11 o'clock that night that I got home. So,
Oh, geez, man. Well, that's a bummer.
hey, one of
I
those
guess-
things. Everything
Yeah,
showed
no
up.
harm, no
Everything still
foul.
works.
If it was just a little delayed and it wasn't on the end where you were going, where you were needing to be. So
Yeah, one of those things. We're home now, and it was nice spend a little bit of a weekend with the family, and
Yeah.
everybody back to school and work today. So I just spent the morning trying to organize.
I mean,
kinda
that's
feel
sometimes what it feels like. It's like a little bit getting back into the groove. You're all fired up. You're all pumped up and ready to go charge the mountain. We're still a little bit in winter here, so
Oh yeah, yeah,
we got a
definitely.
little time, right?
Yeah, still working our ways through it. And so I was going to kind of ask you, regarding the show. We finally got to meet in the Andersons booth the other day at the trade
Yeah,
show,
that's
which was
awesome.
fantastic. Yeah, it was good to meet a few other faces that I've only been talking to on the computer. So it's it's always nice to make those
Absolutely, man.
connections.
No, same here. Always a pleasure to connect with you, but yeah, it's always more fun in person, and again, just be around the industry being live and well, and it felt like the show had a lot of good positive energy. So no, I think all in all, it's everything we could ask for. The weather obviously wasn't great, but if you stuck
was
around a little
cold.
bit, we did through the
Yeah.
weekend. It finally started getting a little bit of warm just as we were leaving yesterday. It was getting up in the 70s. So, what do you do? But hey, this time of year where you and I are from anyways, can't even complain about what we were seeing last
Oh
week.
yeah,
So
no, yeah, exactly. You get back here and you're like, oh yeah, no, it was cold down there, but not this cold. This is
yeah,
another
yeah, yeah.
level.
You remember real quick.
Just a highlight from being at the conference for yourself or for the team at the Andersons.
Felt like good excitement and energy around the industry, and people wanting to again figure out how we can continue to move the game forward, and whether that's new technologies or it feels like a lot of the same struggles, labor, all the things that we've been dealing with for a lot of years are still at top of mind. But whether it's autonomous mowing, or all the different technology you see, including fertilizer and what we do in the business, it's just awesome to see our industry, I think, continue just to step up kind of to the challenge, right? Of, meeting that next generation of superintendent, where unfortunately they're, probably already feeling strains and, places where they don't quite have those answers. And no, I think that's pretty cool from, what a lot of people, I think, probably feel as a industry that maybe is consolidating or shrinking a little bit. I think if anything, in my mind, it's just sharpening, right? It's becoming more focused. Maybe you're seeing a little bit of the fat from the good years where everybody was getting in an industry that, felt really great. And I think now you've got a lot of people that are, really invested in the game and invested in, making, the game last for another 100 years. And I think you really felt that energy and kind of really tied into kind of the whole 100-year theme with the GCSAA. So, no, the machinery was cool. I know that got a lot of, big comments. And, I think it's just awesome to think about. Again, back to the, we've got autonomous reel mowers for fairways over here on one side, and then you've got a reel mower from just 100 years ago, which in the aspect of, the game doesn't seem like it was that long ago. So really long-winded answer, but I think technology, right? And then just, our industry's ability to continue to kind of step up and meet that where it needs to be, and, really look into the future to improve the game.
So we will jump into our Ask the Agronomist question for this week with Dr. Tony, and it comes in from a number of different people. This was actually kind of cool. Right after the episode we did with Ty from Fairway Fields, we got some questions from people, and it was all basically asking, what would be the first steps an agronomist would take if they took on a golf course that was, abandoned for 10 years.
Yeah. So again, thanks for, as always, Adam, for having me on the show. And thanks again, everyone, for always coming up with great, unique questions. Had some time, obviously, to listen to the podcast, and kind of a really unique and cool story that obviously, hits right at home as at the heart of an agronomist. And I think for an agronomist and kind of that mentality, it's easy to jump straight to, regrassing or cosmetic fixes or some of the big Instagram factors, right, that are going to get your followers' attention. But I think from a true, how do you build a course and make sure you're setting yourself up for success in the long run, right? I think you really got to focus kind of on the water aspect first, right? And I know he had mentioned kind of getting some of his irrigation stuff fired back up from pumps and things like that, but really also think drainage. And, you imagine a place that's been abandoned for any period of time, most of those drain lines are probably either collapsed or clogged, and really getting those back up and functioning so you can make sure you can not only put water in on the profile, right, with your irrigation system, but then move it, through the profile as you need to, and make sure that, those critical playing surfaces that are, often where that water, accumulates or causes problems in the long run, you can easily get that off of there and kind of manage that. So I really think infrastructure would be the first one to start with, right? Whether that's, again, drainage and or the irrigation system. And then really starting on kind of what your baseline is. So what's already existing, right? So that's a lot of soil tests, I would imagine, around across the area. You're going to probably have different, layering impacts across, some of the fairways and greens that you're probably going to have to deal with a little bit, differently. And again, you're not trying to make it perfect. You're not going to be able to off the start, but you're trying to understand what you're working in with and kind of what's left of the canvas that you can start with. And then I think what probably most people have been probably most surprised about if they've been following it all is, again, there's, a lot of turf that could be brought back just from making those adjustments we've already talked about, right? And start to slowly bring it back. And from a cost-effective perspective, you want to maximize what you already have before you necessarily start going and, adding new grass seed. So again, just those basic cultural practices, which it looks like Ty and the team have really kind of started to get back into place, are obviously going to be, that step and getting that under control. And then I think the final step, which again is always the one that people probably, if they're not around it as much, would initially go to, is that regrassing, or where are the areas where it's just not coming back the way you wanted, or maybe there are some challenges. And then again, you have to kind of reestablish that turf all from a start. But again, if you start with infrastructure first, kind of lead into your agronomy second, and then really kind of think of your aesthetics or kind of, what you want it to be in the end last. I think that's probably going to set you up for long-term success. So no, really cool story. And, can't wait to kind of see as it unfolds along the years here. But, at the end of the day, I think, people are getting an insight into the challenge that, so many great superintendents that are in our industry just, we almost take for granted the magic that they do every single day. Right. And, I think it's a really cool insight, and really, really appreciate being a little piece of the question, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's such a cool little story, and it's something that everybody always thinks about. We talked about that during the episode. It's always like, if you had your own golf course, what would you do and stuff. So, if it's ever something that you're thinking about down the road, I would bookmark this episode, because that answer there was great. You really do have to think about everything that's going to happen, to the golf course before you really build up to, actually having a putting green and a surface where people can play on. Fantastic, Tony. This wraps up another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring Dr. Tony Goldsby from the Andersons. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Turf Today, recorded on the Superintendent Network and brought to you
by Toro. My name is Adam Kershane, and this week not joined by Brian Lorentz. He was on the intro there, but this is an episode an interview rather, that we recorded before heading out to the show. So this one is just me and Grace, but this is a great interview. We're very fortunate to get Grace on. Let's join them right now. Hi, Grace.
Hey,
How's it going?
what's up? Good. How's it going?
Not too bad. Thank you so much for jumping on a little bit early. That really helps me out.
You got a cool setup.
Oh, appreciate it. Well, I've been working on it over the years. So huge apologies. Brian was going to be on with us, but he is down in Orlando right now. It sounds like he is at a big event, a big party, getting ready for the kickoff of the tournament. So
Oh yeah.
he was going to jump off and come record, and I was just texting with him there. And I don't think he's able to jump on a computer at this point. So
No worries. Yeah,
um,
that's all right.
yeah, no, I know we've been really looking forward to chatting with you. It's been a couple of years that we've been, sort of mixing it up online, sharing some of your stuff, talking about a few of the things that we've had going on in our careers. So we're very fortunate to have you come on today and be able to tell your story.
Yeah, I was super excited when asked me if I was ready, and I definitely feel ready for the interview because I've had a couple experiences so far, and I think I don't know, I just have a lot to share. So thanks for
Fantastic.
having me.
And that's the biggest thing, right? These episodes are for you guys to be able to come on and sort of have a bit of a blank canvas and tell the story that you want to tell. We're really not here trying to push any sort of agendas or really trying to dig into anything specific that you have going on. You've got a big career ahead of you and you've already gone through lots of stuff. So, why don't you just take us back to the beginning and tell us about kind of growing up and finding your way to the industry?
I mean, back to the very beginning, I was growing up on the golf course with my dad. He was just showing me all the ropes and how to swing a club and everything. And he loves golf. He's super passionate about it. So pretty much my whole childhood, I played golf with him. And then he got me into U.S. kids tournaments and took me around to different golf courses. So I was exposed to the game really early on. And I think that's obviously super important working now with all of the, etiquette and rules and everything. So then throughout high school, I made it on varsity my freshman year, but then I kind of struggled through the rest of my high school, experience, and I ended up doing independent study, but that actually allowed me to start working at the golf course. So while I couldn't necessarily play through high school, my, full 4 years, I started working on the grounds crew when I was 16. And I actually just went to go be in the cart barn and I have a golf course job so I could play free golf. And then he was like,
Classic.
yeah, I mean, yeah, what a dream. But he was like, I actually need a weed whacker. And me having zero small motor tool experience, I'm like, yeah, I could do that. Like, totally. So I showed up at 5:30 the next morning and I was in tennis shoes, I don't know. I was wearing Adidas pants, gonna go weed whack. We started it and then I was like, okay, I was getting it, a few weeks in and I was like, this is actually kind of fun. I like just going out and just weed whacking things. And then I started actually developing this passion of making it look nice. And then, golfers started recognizing me. We had such a small crew. It was a 6-man crew. And besides the point, we didn't necessarily have a superintendent. So it was kind of interesting over there to say the least, but it was a super cool start because I really just started at, the baseline weed whacker, going in bunkers and digging out weeds. So, I mean, eventually I was really into it. And then I saw a country club job and I was like, oh, that's country club. Let me get into that. And so I applied, ended up getting a phone call the day I applied, and I made it through onto the crew. So at that point, I was learning more on the machines and everything. And then I was like, oh, this is what golf maintenance is. Because I was just weed whacking. I hadn't, wasn't even raking bunkers. I was just weed whacking. Um, and so it gave me this whole perspective. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is real, like this is the real deal or whatever. That's what it felt like. And then at that point, my superintendent at the time had brought up school. And I was like, there's school for this? Like, I didn't even know, like, I had no idea, And eventually I signed up for online classes at UC Riverside through their extension program. And yeah, I started doing that. I ended up leaving that course after probably no less than a year. And there was this reconstruction going on a lot closer to my home. And there was a 9-hole complete renovation. So they had already renovated 9 holes, like I want to say a year or so prior, and then they were ready for the next 9. So I kind of jumped onto that super early on into, well, they had seed down, but it was fairly early on into their construction. I mean, they were still digging out bunkers and putting in drains and everything. So that was super cool to watch the grass grow for the first time. And so I got a bit of like renovation experience and um like I got as involved as I could at the time, being just where I was in the industry, but it was really cool to watch and I got to, mow the first lines in the greens and say that I was the one to cut the first blades off the grass. So that was cool. And then I was just looking for more. So I kept looking on what's it called, TurfNet. And I saw this Turf Across America agronomy intern at PGA West and the union leagues in New Jersey. And I was like, whoa. And so I read the whole thing and I was like, that sounds like really cool. And I like went to my parents and then they're like, Grace, you need to apply to that. And so I was like, okay, but New Jersey is like really far. So,
Yeah.
I was kind of nervous about that. I applied anyways and had an interview with Brian Stromey, the manager of Century. And then I forget his last name, but his name is Patrick from Union League. And yeah, they really liked me, it seemed. So they offered me the position, but I kind of was like, can I like just go to PGA West first and, see how I like being away from home before like moving across the state. So I went there in the midst of summer. They actually had the intern program scheduled to be in the, nicer weather times because it gets super hot out here.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I ended up coming in here in the midst of June, about a year and a half ago. And I was supposed to stay here for 6 months. And then they were like, oh, we want to promote you to, assistant in training. And I was like, okay, what? I want to finish my internship. Like, I don't know if I want to stay, I'm just feeling it out still. I want to see what being comfortable actually feels like for a little while
Hmm.
before making any permanent decisions, I guess. So I finished up my internship, accepted the position as assistant in training, and then later on I got promoted to second assistant. And so that's where I'm at now. And it's been quite the journey over here at PGA West. I definitely feel like a complete shift in where I'm at in my career path. And I don't know, obviously I came here and didn't come home. So there was something that, I'm getting something out of it being over here. So it's been really enjoyable. And, that alongside with the other opportunities I've had in the past year, like working these big tournaments and whatnot, has just been super elevating for, my motivation and my path in this career. So it's kind of where I'm at, and that's kind of the backstory of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Seems like you've come a long way. And I just want to ask you about making that trip to New Jersey. Is that something that you might still decide to do at some point, or maybe another trip across the country or something like that?
I think the thing about me is I'm super family oriented. So being that far, just knowing the fact that there's opportunities like across the world when it comes to golf, um, I don't think it's calling to me at this moment, but to make the connection, to have that opportunity is super awesome. And I actually met someone at the Women's US Open who's currently as an intern right over there. So she's loving it, doing really well. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, it's not something I'm absolutely opposed to, but I think I'm itching to be with my family. So um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right
Yeah,
now.
and nothing wrong with that at all. And you're in a great spot too. Being in California, it's a bit of a mecca of golf, and you've grown up around it, all the different golf courses and everything going on there. So, just talk to us about some of the experiences that you've picked up in the last year working at different tournaments and volunteering.
I mean, it's definitely, like I said, it's just complete, everything's just been a complete shift. I always find myself going through these different like phases of how I'm viewing the golf course, and every day is just, you see something else, you see something new, and you learn something new. So it's been, yeah, quite the journey of just every day is something new and a learning experience. And working at the American Express last year was a super good start, I think. It's kind of a little more of a laid back feel tournament as compared to working the Women's US Open. And I think also partially because I was already comfortable, I knew the course and I knew the people. But yeah, it was a super good start tournament, I would say, to get yourself into that. And then once I went to the Women's US Open, I kind of came there a little confident because I had this experience prior, and I was like, I know how I need to kind of act in a way, and I know it's super important. We got to sneak around, we can't be seen, like all of these things that are super important that don't always get communicated. But yeah, I think just right now, my biggest thing that I'm learning is definitely the management part of things and working with the people and not trying to be too much, I guess, in a way, and trying to still let people do things the way they want if it's to our standard. But I don't know, it's just been growing pains in that regard. So I think that's my biggest learning curve right now is this management part. Working on the grass is, obviously something new comes every day, but it's become pretty routine for me. I'm starting to really get, the weekly, like it's just it's just like this for me now.
Hmm.
But that management part of things is definitely my biggest learning curve. I'm keeping my head up and keeping my foot on the gas and everything. It's just difficult being super young, and obviously, like everyone says it's difficult being a woman or being a woman, but I think the biggest thing for me is that it's difficult being young because kind of trying to boss people who are quite older than me. So that's been a little bit difficult. So those are my like biggest learning things right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not easy. Being younger and trying to manage people that are older than you or have more experience than you is always tough, but it's a big part of our industry. And I'm sure you're seeing working with different people, you're getting, the good and the bad. You're seeing traits that you want to be like or, things you want to do as a leader when you're going to be older and when you're in a position of management. So I think all that stuff is good learning. You just gotta, pick and choose when you're going to actually, lay down the law. So
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, being younger in this industry and taking on bigger roles like being a second assistant or, going and working at big tournaments. I think there's a lot of people coming up in this industry, and I certainly was one of these people where you don't know where you fit in, and you almost wonder, am I good enough to go to a tournament like that? Should I really actually put my name on a list to volunteer? And, what would you say to people that, feel like that's not something that they really want to do or they don't feel like they're deserving of?
I think I've felt that way before, because I've always wanted to do something like that. And when I was first seeing like, these girls who like went to this tournament and they like took this group photo, I'm like, what? This is a thing? Like, what is this? And like, so yeah, I think when was like seeing that, I didn't feel like confident enough. I was just a section worker, like I didn't know enough, or I felt like that. But genuinely, when you work at a tournament, there's literally a place for everyone. No matter your experience level, everybody can go fill a divot, no matter your experience level. And there's just work for everybody. I mean, the details are 100% elevated. Everything has to be perfect. I mean, there can't be a grass blade out of place. So there's got to be people who are there, and everybody fits in. No matter the role you're taking on there, it's important because these PGA Tour agronomists do not mess around. Let's be real about that. So yeah, that's what I would say is that even if you do feel like you might not have the experience or you might not be good enough, there's literally, I can't stress this enough, not only a place for anyone in this industry, but absolutely a place for anybody in a professional tournament setting.
Nice, nice. I really like that. And if mistakes are made, people usually are right there to pick you up, laugh about it and move on, right? I think you have a pretty funny story from one of your last days. Was it at the US Women's Open?
Yeah, it happens all the time on the golf
All
course.
the time.
We're always laughing about something or making fun of somebody who did something 6 months ago and can't escape from it.
Of course.
Like, we have a story with a guy at my course who flipped the sprayer and stuff like that we always nag on him about. Don't go flip it.
Yeah, you're not allowed to sit on
Um,
that.
right? No, yeah, I was walking my tees. I think it was a seventh hole. Um, and I had this private photographer who just, came along for her own photography, not necessarily for me, but she wanted to meet me out there and get some cool footage or cool shots. And so she was snapping some photos, and I'm out here. I was wearing extra tufts all week. And I was like, honestly, for the photos, I kind of want to put my Red Wings on. And so I put my Red Wings on and I just get right out there and like no less than like probably like three turns into my first tee, I like slip and then fall like just boom right on my bum, like legs in the air. And like she's looking down at her. I turn around, she's like looking down. I'm like, I get up really fast, somehow kept the reels off. I don't know how, but somehow kept the reels off maybe it was like muscle memory
Yeah,
because
just that
I was
good.
like, yeah. And I turn around, she's like, I'm like, did you just see that? She's like, see what? I'm like, how did you not see that? I just had the craziest fall just now, but I thought my Red Wings were gonna they need some more, I guess they need some more heel. I have the super flat moccasin ones. So,
Yeah, get something for when it's extra
but
dewy out in the morning.
yeah, it was pretty dewy out there in some mornings. And then there was like other mornings where there was nothing. Fairway mowers couldn't see anything. Greens couldn't see anything. They're just going. And then we had to have like rags on the fairways as targets for where your next pass was. And
Oh my gosh. That's the
yeah,
worst.
it was
That's the
fun.
worst. Sometimes it works for you and sometimes it works against you. Always something
I'm
out
kind
there.
of glad I was, yeah. I'm kind of glad I'm mowing tees right now because I got dew and
Yeah,
I'm good.
that really helps. Before we go any further, we have to talk about Apex 10 by Green Nature, a powerful soil health solution designed to activate microbial activity where it matters most. Apex 10 feeds beneficial microbes in the soil, improving nutrient availability, root development, and overall plant efficiency. The result is stronger turf, better stress tolerance, and more consistent playing conditions from the ground up. If you believe that great turf starts with healthy soil biology, check out Apex 10 from Green Nature, working below the surface so your turf can thrive above it. This episode of Turf Today is also brought to you by the USGA Green Section, the trusted resource for science-based solutions in golf course management. From agronomy-supported and regional agronomists to cutting-edge research and education, the Green Section helps superintendents make informed decisions that improve playing conditions while protecting the long-term sustainability of the game. Whether it's water management, turf health, or preparing for what's next, the USGA Green Section is committed to helping courses thrive today and into the future. Learn more at usga.org/greensection. So, any other good
Yeah.
memories from being out on the course, maybe with some people that you've met from other courses, or just kind of having that camaraderie around working at a tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to see the people you've met like in another state at another event come to another state, and then you're there too, and then you're like, hey, I know you. So yeah, there's been a few people from like the Women's Leadership Academy a couple years ago that I went to. And then like at the Women's US Open, there's obviously people you meet there. So now I have a roommate that I'm gonna go work the next Women's US Open in Riviera. So like
Nice.
you just build friends, like it's
Hmm.
so easy. Yeah, it just happens like that. And then, obviously this is like one of the, my most cherished memories is that I was able to have Derek come work the American Express with me. And, we had this we had this frost tarp on the driving range, and we were every night we had to run out and ravel it up or whatever. And it was just super fun. Like it was just like I don't know, we were just all running like with a big blanket. It was like so having him out there was like definitely my most cherished memories because I hold him really close to my heart. So yeah, I mean, aside from just like meeting people throughout the tournaments and then being like, hey, like that's super fun. Um, I haven't met too many other people like through school or just like through social media, I guess, that I've really connected with like in person yet. So yeah, those two that kind of things I really hold those close to my heart.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I know it's so important in our industry that networking and creating friends and creating different relationships. You could probably work at the U.S. Women's Open the rest of your life, right? You'd have contacts and places to stay and different experiences and things like that. So it's awesome to hear that you're taking advantage of those because sometimes people can kind of get into their own little world and sort of sit back and be comfortable in their situation. They don't reach out for help or they don't kind of expand their network. So it's great to hear that you're doing that. I wanted to ask you sort of, your sights on the future. Do you want to be a superintendent one day? Do you want to be in California? Is there any big special goals that you have for yourself?
I think all of this would probably be for nothing if I didn't at least try to be a superintendent. Because that's always been my goal. And I don't want to be, like pushed away just because I see how much paperwork or, how much life balance you kind of have to deal with at that level. I think the biggest thing that scares me is that. So that's probably like the biggest question I have for any superintendent is how do you balance? Because I'm even struggling as a second assistant to kind of balance some things. Like I said, I think I'll probably end up somewhat close to home. I don't necessarily want to live out of state because it already kind of feels like I live out of state because of the fact that it's like pretty far to drive and then I have to fly. So because it's just California's big.
Yeah, you're
But
already away from home.
yeah. So I mean, I think I would stay here if they stayed here. There's a lot of opportunity in California,
Hmm.
especially down here where there's like all the only grass here is golf course. So yeah, it's like the green you see on the map. Yeah, those are all the golf
All the
courses.
golf
It's
courses. Oh, that's
no.
funny.
That's my biggest thing is just how do you guys do it? I mean, like I love what I do and I think I'm always gonna love it. And I think that's the biggest thing is that you have to love it to
Hmm.
be able to balance those things. But everybody knows this. These aren't normal hours. They're dreadful hours, and you genuinely have to love it. So I hope I continue to have this, motivation and passion. I think it helps growing up. I always loved it. It's like my whole life. I don't know. It's just golf is my life. And, my dad. So it's just I'm always gonna hold the golf course close to me. So I don't know. That's kind of that's kind of where I'm at in the sense of, what's my goals? Like, yeah, I want to, but I hope my passion stays there genuinely. Because some people burn out,
Hmm.
but I'm not
Yeah,
there yet.
I hope it's a shift that we kind of make in the industry as younger people come up, technology makes its way through the industry, mental health plays a bigger part. I really hope that people do, value their time and find ways to, kind of space their time out because some people work way too much and they grind way too much and you get to bigger courses and bigger tournaments and it is a lot. So you're relying on your family and people around you to kind of manage things. And at the end of the day too, you don't always get into this business to make money. So you really have to enjoy what you do. And I'm glad you talked about your family about it again. Can you go back and just tell me what it was like when, being very young and going to the golf course with your dad in the morning? Any really special memories or anything that, really sticks with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things is I think one of the first times he took me out, I was like 4 years old. He was just like letting me whack the clubs or whatever. But he took me out on the golf course that I ended up doing the reconstruction at. So, like seeing little me on, the ninth tee box and then being like, oh, now I get to mow this tee box is kind of funny. It's something I definitely am like I think about when I'm younger, when I look back to being younger. But my dad worked on this course that eventually shut down, but he worked as a marshal, and I was doing like junior clinics like every Wednesday, and then like I was doing private lessons too. I want to say I was there at least 2 days a week doing like some lessons. But there were days that he would take me out in his Marshall cart and we would just like go drive around on the golf course. I had no idea what he was doing or anything. I don't know. We would just drive around
Yeah,
and
just
then
out
like,
there.
what the marshals do and pick up the trash and stuff. And there would be some rattlesnakes. He would kind of whack them. But yeah, we would be out there and then, we would get to the tee box and the group would be there. And my dad's like, yeah, this is my MIT. It's my marshal in training.
That's so cute.
Good morning. And I'm like shivering.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of funny, like looking back now and then I turned into an AIT. And then, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's true.
kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, obviously just there were love-hate moments on the golf course with my dad, but he was my biggest, motivator and the one who got me to be better. And I wish I golfed more, but when I do, it's super fun. And sometimes I do hit a really good shot and I'm like, dang, like I really love golf. Like, it just, yeah, I don't know. But I'll always thank him for like, I would have never known anything about this if it wasn't for him. And I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. So yeah, I mean, that's cool. Like growing up, working on the golf courses that you played when you were like little, it's fun. So
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It's great to have that influence and it certainly helps grow our industry having people that have been in it their whole lives. So that's huge. The other influence that you have had in the turf industry is obviously the women in turf because it is a very small percentage. We have talked about it on turf today before. I haven't looked at the stats in a while, but it's always been around 95 to 5% men to women that, work and engage with us online and stuff. And hopefully that's starting to change and there's more and more women coming into the industry. So please talk to us about, the initiative, the Women in Turf and everything going on and maybe some of the people leading the movement.
there were like a couple different ways I got into this. There were a couple different like girls I saw on Instagram, and like I said, like they had this tournament post, and I'm like, who are these girls? And then I slowly got to like figure out little things on social media and just trying to figure out how to get in contact. And then eventually I was in a class in at UCR, and my teacher at the time sent me an email and he just said, "Hey, I want you to connect with Heather Shapples, who is a superintendent in the northern area. She at the time she was. Um, and he was like, she worked under me. She's really cool, and I just want you to have her connection." And I was like, awesome. So I emailed her back. I'm like, hey, Heather, and then she comes back with, hey, you should apply for the Women's Leadership Academy. And I'm like, the women's what? And so I apply. I ended up not being chosen, and I was like, ah. And then the next like day or so, they sent me another email, and they were like, you were the runner up, and somebody dropped out. And I was like,
Perfect.
okay, awesome. So I ended up getting to go, and then and yeah, I mean that was like super eye-opening. Like it's so funny to feel like you're the only one, and then you go into this room and there's other girls talking about grass like it's their life too. So when you're like, wait, you know what overseed is? It's like, oh, it's so eye-opening. You're like, there are people. So yeah, going to there, I was like a little more reserved, I think, at the time, but I was really trying to put myself out there. And I made a few friends, but definitely at the tournament is where I just like, I wanted to say hi to everyone. I wanted to talk to everyone because over time, I just realized that this networking was just like so important. So networking with all of these women, was super awesome. And I think the biggest shout out I have goes to Kimberly Gard, who is part of Syngenta, and she is one of the few who put on, these opportunities for these women and who get them together and who sends the emails and, she gathers everybody and it's just nobody can thank her enough. So I think that's one of the biggest names to drop in this regards to women in turf. But yeah, the opportunities are going to be endless now. I mean, we have a little WhatsApp group, and I don't want to say little because I think there's over 200 members
No
now
way.
in the group chat. I'm
Nice.
serious. So it's just and every day, Kimberly Gard is like introducing somebody new. She's like, "Hey, this is so and so from this golf club or wherever." And so yeah, it's growing and it's super awesome to be part of this early on into my life and early on into my career, and then just early on into this growing as a whole. Because I think I got a lot of inspiration at the Women's Leadership Academy through these women who spoke up in front of everybody or who led the, presentations. And there's going to be gaps to fill one day, and I hope to be a motivator for those people one day who, sit in the chair and feel like, they really want to learn something there. And that's what I came to learn. And there was a lot to learn that week. It was really cool. That was a really awesome experience.
That's wonderful. I'm really proud of you for doing that. And yeah, like you said, there's eventually going to be positions to fill and eventually going to be more leadership roles available. And you're going to be a perfect fit for that. So I guess this is be a bit of a loaded question, but one I'm going to ask anyways. What do you think we could do to get more women into the turf industry?
Ooh, I've thought about this because I've been asked this before. I think obviously promoting on different platforms, like doing that video with Golf Digest was super cool. I was able to be in this kind of like week summary of the Women's US Open with Golf Digest, and then they interviewed a few people, and that was really cool. And I think that was probably like it was edited so cool. I think people probably went like, "Dang, this is a cool job."
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it reached someone out there who has no idea what we do and who is now interested. And I think it's as little as, doing things like that with how, powerful social media is nowadays. But I've always thought, like there are people who are still young who are growing up playing golf. Like when we were at the Women's US Open, I forget the program because I don't think it was the first tee program. But there was a program with a bunch of little kids, and they came into the shop and we talked to them, and I kind of said, my little piece to them. And, I hope that this industry doesn't, I hope people never forget about golf, is what I'm trying to say. But, I think reaching out to the younger kids and like showing them more, because growing up, it's not like I had any idea how the golf course turned into the golf course when I went to go play it. It was just always ready and always, green.
Yeah.
So I was never exposed to maintenance or anything. So I think exposing, younger kids to like what actually golf course, how it's actually built and how it's set up and prepared for the kids to play is probably a big part and something that can promote this job to anyone, not just women. And then obviously, like, I don't know, I think like something I said before was like making these USGA, there's like USGA posters like fix your ball mark and, rules of golf. It's like, come on, maybe we can make like women in turf, with USGA and I don't know, like something like that and just like post it in certain, maybe at whatever golf course wants to post it. And then people go, oh, like, those are the biggest things is just like promotions, making people know because a lot of this people don't know. I think the majority of, if not everybody that I've met my age that I've said I do professional turf maintenance. I have a certificate in turf maintenance. They're like, that the fake grass? I'm like, no, it's like soil science. Like, come on. But nobody knows. And I think it's a matter of, you know, educating people on these career opportunities.
That stigma is so real. And I know when I first got into the industry, I've told the story many times. I just showed up to the golf course and said, okay, where's my mower? And the guy's like, nope, you're not cutting any grass for me. And I was like, whoa, what? So like there is that stigma there. And hopefully things can keep changing. That's certainly one of our, biggest missions is to really try and get golf course maintenance into the mainstream so that kids, men and women, everybody can have an opportunity to be able to see what actually goes on. And yeah, it's a hard job. It's not for everybody, but when you're growing up, people say, well, you can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be a police officer. Those are hard jobs. They all have difficult parts of their job. And being a golf course superintendent is something that we're going to need and something that is popular now. So why not try and get it to more kids and more different people that might have never seen it?
Absolutely.
The other thing that you were doing with the Women in Turf is you're actually on another podcast right now. You were featured. I'd love for you to talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, so that was just a few weeks ago. So it hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that was on Golf Course Industry, I believe, and they do this Women of Golf series. So they've done quite a few interviews with some familiar names that I was like surprised to see. I was like, wait, I met her and I met her too. And
Nice.
she runs this. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, that was super awesome. When I did the interview, it was super easygoing and he asked a lot of great questions. And I think the biggest thing that stood out for me was at the end, he just expressed how much passion he had in keeping this going for the women and giving women this attention in this industry. Um, I think he mentioned that he was gonna like stop it, and somebody was like, "You can't stop this," and he was like, "Yeah, what am I doing?" From what I remember, something like that. And he just like has continued it ever since, and he's just super passionate about it. So it was really fun to do that, and he just kind of gave me the floor, and I was just like yapping about how much I love working on grass. And yeah, I mean. Other than that, he asked a lot about women in turf as well. And I said the same things that I said to you. It's just, it comes with so many awesome opportunities. There's so many networking opportunities. There's so many people we meet who turn into potential lifelong friends. I mean, at this point, I've been friends with a few people for a few years, and we still stay in contact. And we'll be roomies together and it's just like so much fun. It's so much fun what this industry can bring. Even just, as a player, you know what it brings. It brings like connection with everybody. It's kind of the same thing. So, uh, yeah, if you love it, I don't know, I could go on about it, but
Oh yeah, I bet.
yeah.
And that's good. That's good. That shows you have the passion that you can talk about it all day long. Was there something else you wanted to talk about? Something you wanted to bring up? A story you wanted to tell? Something you were hoping maybe I'd ask you today?
That's a tough one right now, but I think whoever is potentially going to listen to this to know is that, you know, if you're like newer in the industry or if you're not in the industry, you may not know that like this job is actually super fun and super enjoyable, and it comes with things that you would have never guessed you were going to see or deal with or laugh about. The biggest thing is I want to motivate people to do this. And if you love outdoors and the sunrise and it's your body adjusts. The hours are early. Everybody makes a sour face when they say, "You wake up at 3:40 in the—" I'm like, "Yes, but my body's used to it." Um, but yeah, I think I just want to say that, like I said, there's a place for everybody, and this industry and career has opportunities that I haven't seen most careers offer. So, I mean, even just where I'm at is huge, and working for a high-end facility like this is just to be invited out here to make these career moves. I mean, this this place, if you're confused or if you're not sure, there's literally a place for everyone. You can build skill day to day, and I'm watching people right now learn and develop and take on these roles at changing their paths in life later on, and it's never too late and it's never too early. And I would just suggest to everybody who's, potentially wanting to do something like this to just go for it, because I did and never ever looked back. So I
That's
never had to
awesome.
learn how to, make a sandwich or anything. Like take an order. I was just grass.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
fun.
I love how you mentioned that you do want to motivate people. You've said that a few times throughout this interview, and honestly, I think you do a great job of that already. You have a great social media presence. You post good content. You've done some awesome interviews. Worked with Golf Digest. You're networking with the women and pushing for women in turf. So I would say just keep doing everything you're doing because it's fantastic. I've even seen you take some heat online for some of your videos, and you just
Oh, yeah.
stand there and take it and move right on. And that's another great example of leadership in our industry because there are people that are going to talk shit and there are people that are going to have their opinions. And to just continue on with your life and your job and not worry about all that stuff is very, very hard to do. So I applaud you for being able to do that. And that's going to make you a great leader in this industry.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Last thing I wanted
The
to talk
entertain.
to you about today, and not an easy one for either of us. So if you don't want to get into it, it's okay. But it's been a while since we lost our friend Derek Lee, amazing friend of the show, a former guest of the show, and certainly not an easy one for people that knew him. But you and Derek shared a special bond, and after his passing, you and I spoke quite a bit just about everything that went on. So I would love for you to just kind of talk about that for a few minutes because we haven't really had somebody come on and really be able to sort of do that for Derek. So I would love for you to be able to talk about him for a
Yeah.
couple minutes.
Oh gosh, I would be honored. And obviously, excuse me if I, get emotional about this,
That's okay.
because
I'm right there with you. Don't worry.
obviously this is, tough. I mean, I'll just go back to the beginning. I was um I was in a class with him on UC Riverside, and him and like one other person were like always in the chat, just questions and answers, and he was just rolling. And I'm like, who's this guy? And then eventually I'm like scrolling in class, unfortunately, and I see this post of Derek Lee makes the news of, Torrey Pines, and I'm like, Derek Lee. And I like look on my chat and I'm like, Derek Lee. I'm like, oh wait, this is this guy. So I like texted him and I was like, wait, you made the news? Like, what the heck? And then after that, we just like started talking, and we started talking grass like all the time, just talking about grass. And he would help me on whatever homework assignments sometimes. And then we ended up just like giving each other calls. Like we started calling throughout the work days, and he was, like we were just laughing. We're both dealing with different stuff at different golf courses, and we're talking about it and stuff. And so we really bonded in that way. And then I think the biggest thing that stood out to me about Derek is just how motivated he was. I mean, he was like, I think he was like waking up at like 2 in the morning to like go to the gym to do his powerlifting and then to go be an assistant superintendent at like what, 18, 19 years old.
Hmm.
And then to go like listen to his podcasts and learn about soil science. And then he's like sending me these articles about like, why, like, oh, I don't know. It's like why phosphorus does blah, 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 like all this like soil science stuff. And I'm like, Derek, I don't got time for this. Like, and I'm like, bro, you're such a nerd. And I'm like, oh my God, you are literally the smartest person like I've ever encountered in this industry. And if ever I needed anything, if I had a question about anything, he's the person I called because there was never a moment where Derek was like, bro, you should know this, or like, he wanted to teach. He wanted to share his knowledge and he wanted to be helpful. And he was such an awesome friend for that. And I mean, like early on into my internship, I had to like calibrate a rotary spreader, like an Anderson's rotary spreader. And I'm like, Derek, I have to do zero point 0.6 pounds of, tw 21 zeros. How many pounds of fertilizer? He's like, Grace, don't this is the formula. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a lifesaver. And, there's just those moments that he was just always there. He was just always helpful. And there are times that I was just so burnt out that like he would call me and I like wouldn't answer sometimes. And I just always like now look back on that and wish that I did pick up the phone. But yeah, I mean the thing about Derek is just he was just such a go-getter and I learned a lot about him the few weeks after his passing and attending his services and listening to, his family speak. And then I spoke for him or I spoke, at the ceremony and I said, he was just such a helpful person. He was such a great, amazing person. There was never a day where Derek was like unhappy. He was just always smiling, always joking and laughing. And I'm so glad that he came here for SFMA because he came here and that was during the tournament. And then during the last, I think it was like one of the last or so days of the tournament, he like, I'm like, it's like divot rally time. And I'm like just riding in a golf cart. Derek's in the six-seater. I'm like, Derek, like, how did you get here? Like, what do you do? He's like, ah. And I'm like, bro, what? And so that was like one of the funniest moments, like him just like popping up out of nowhere, just little Derek.
There he is.
But yeah, and then like when I first met him, we actually won a scholarship together through GCSAA. And yeah, it was super funny when I first met him. He was like, we were like trying to figure out who should hug or handshake. And I was like, yo, what's up, man? Bring it in. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, the little moments we got to have with each other was super awesome. I wish I got to spend more time with him out on the golf course because, gosh, there was so much to learn from him. And he had such a long road of success ahead of him. I would have I would have followed him, whether we stayed friends or not, I would have followed him for the rest, to see where he ended up because he was just on it, that guy. Like he was on it. And I'll forever be grateful for, the little things that he got to teach me. And yeah, it's weird just going to work, thinking about somebody that you used to call every day at work about work. So he really shared the passion that I had. And I haven't met anybody who has had it at that level. I mean, he was the work, eat, sleep, or whatever the saying is, grass.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and it was just really fun to see. And yeah, he had so much more ahead, and it's really unfortunate the circumstances. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
Derek. I mean, he's just he was motivated.
He was. I think you're right. He had a long career in this industry, and he was going to do some great things. Very smart kid, very passionate, and very helpful too. I remember when Brian and I talked when we got off the call, and Brian was like, "I don't think we asked him enough questions," or like, "I don't think he thought we were smart enough," or something like that. Because it seemed like he was very dialed in with with the science side of things, and just really trying to learn and gain knowledge. And you're right. I think he would have done a lot of great things, and you guys would have been a great team. So it's I'm very sorry for your loss and everybody around Derek. And I've mentioned it a few times on the show. It was emotional because he's such a great kid, and you do see the runway that he would have in this industry. So it's never easy, but he was such a positive person, and we do have so many good memories of him now that hopefully we can continue to kind of tell his story and build off of everything for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm to say the least, I'm motivated to keep going and to keep learning more. And I can't say that I'll ever be as book smart as Derek was, but man, am I motivated to learn more and to keep going. And my boss got to meet him during the Amex, and he said the same thing. This kid, this kid knows what he's talking about. And I'm like, yeah,
He's got it.
he's bringing up things that I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, I really do appreciate you talking about that for a few minutes, Grace. I know it's not easy, but sometimes it is also, good to talk about those things and be
Oh
able to
yeah, I'm
share that
honored.
stuff. So that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Really appreciate your time today. I thought you did a great job. If there's anything else you wanted to mention before we let you go, the floor is yours. But
I don't think as of right now, just yeah, shout out Women in Turf, obviously. Just super great industry. Can't wait to see, over the next few years where it comes. And yeah, hope I can continue to attend all of those great events and bring more people in. So hopefully this episode was inspiring and yeah, it was really fun. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
fantastic. We have a great night. All right.
All right, you as well. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Take care. That is going to do it for another week. Thank you so much to Grace on the interview. Thank you to everybody who came out to the show to see us last week. It was awesome getting to meet so many great people, have so many great conversations, and really, really look forward to it next year. So have a great week, everybody. Keep those reels sharp.